And late today, Nine Network cricket presenter Mark Nicholas hosted a debate between former Aussie skipper Ian Chappell, ex-England captain Tony Greig and Indian cricket commentator Harsha Bogle.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Cricket here in Australia in crisis. Harsha, how real is this threat by the Indians, and could it just be bargaining power?
It could be, but I think the Indian board has been pushed into a corner because of the enormous outrage involved. Everyone is up in arms, and they have to be seen to be doing something. And hence the extremely strong reaction. There have been polls all over India. I think the Hindustan Times had a poll where 91% of the people said, come back home. So based on the fact that the country is up in arms, the board's got to be seen to be doing something.
A bulk of the problem is this stupid playing condition where the captains have got to dob in someone from the opposition if they use racial terms. Now, that's what's caused Ponting to dob Harbhajan in. I think, you know, the reaction in Australia, part of the reaction in Australia is because they don't like people dobbing someone else in. So I think immediately that's seen as a problem for Ricky Ponting. But that shouldn't happen. That's not the captain's job. The captain's job is to look after his own team. It's the umpire's job to worry about all those other things. And once you start dobbing the opposition in, then they're going to start looking at you and there's a problem.
Ian, if you and I had been playing against each other and we'd been given that instruction, do we have to follow it? I don't think that I would have followed it necessarily.
Well, but hang on, you'd tell them that, Tony. You'd say to them, I'm not doing that.
Do you think that it's even half possible that Australia could sack Ricky Ponting? I mean, Peter Roebuck has written this extraordinarily strong piece in the Sydney Morning Herald. Is there an argument for
not.
Definitely not. Good.
Definitely not.
What, for being a successful captain you get sacked?
No, I don't think.
He's carried himself in the eyes of people. I think that's the point Peter's trying to make. But I think that's a decision someone else has to take. I think the other issue is that Anil Kumble says, I had an agreement with Ricky Ponting before that we would play in the spirit of the game. And he says, I do not believe that picking a bum ball, which is one of the big issues on the Dhoni catch, where they believe that he picked the ball off the ground, and the Clark catch at slip, where the ball went off the face of the bat or the edge of the bat and he waited. And he said, look, as far as I know, that is not the spirit of the game, and that violates the agreement that we had, so I don't want to have another.
All right. What about the whole problem cricket faces regarding this difficult phrase, the spirit of the game? Verbal abuse, sledging, mental disintegration, whatever you want to call it. Do we think that it truly is a part and parcel of the modern game, or can it be eradicated?
No, that's rubbish to say it's part and parcel of the game, and the ICC have got the trouble that they deserve. And I've always felt that the more you allow to be said on the field, the more likely that something personal will be said. And if something personal is said at the wrong time to the wrong person, bang, you'll have fisticuffs on the field. I mean, Tony talked about the time when we played. You go back to that time, two umpires ran the game. They were in control of the game out in the middle. And all that's happened since those days is they've taken more and more power away from the umpires. Now the players, really, they don't know who's running the game out there.
And that's out. Big edge. Well, there's a big noise there. And I reckon Steve Button's the only one on the ground who hasn't heard it.
And I think the time has probably come for the Pontings and the Kumbles of this world and other captains around the world perhaps to rethink, you know, the question of walking, the question of trying to help the umpires a bit. I mean, I know this is not everyone's cup of tea, but I think we're stuck in the past a little bit on this issue. I mean, technology is moving forward fast. And the last thing I want is a cup of tea and a tea party out there. This is a tough game, and there's going to be words.
I fear, though, Tony, that we're getting there. I mean, all three of you have played at the highest level. I'm sort of the common man's representative here. And I think people are saying, do you need to abuse at all? Have the cricketers now forfeited the right to have a little go at each other? And therefore, because now definitions of what constitutes abuse, what is racial, are now, I mean, now you're not saying Brad Hogg abused Anil Kumble. We've opened a Pandora's box. And now I think we've reached a stage where I think the only solution is just no chatter on the cricket field.
Ranatunga said, switch the mics up. Don't switch them down. And he said that a long time ago, when the Englishman had a real go at him, personally.
Verbal exchanges with Andrew Symonds and Ponting, plus a closed-mouth reprimand from umpire Mark Benson, triggered by Harbhajan allegedly calling Symonds a monkey.
Most usually, racism is seen as white on black or coloured. This is a reversal of that situation, if it be true. In India, how serious is the word monkey?
I think the basis of it all was there an agreement not to use that word? That changes things. If there's an agreement not to use that word, then there is a problem.
It's not acceptable to call a black guy a monkey, and but I've got to say too that a lot does depend on what was said before that happened. I mean, you know.
What you mean in terms of someone, the level that he may have been wound up?
Absolutely.
And do you think that it's within the Australians to wind someone up to the point at which they snap?
Well, as I said before, the more you allow to be said on the field, the more likely that something personal will be said. You get something personal said to you at the wrong time, the wrong moment, there's all sorts of flare-ups can happen.
How much has the umpiring influenced what's gone on here?
It started it. The fire was lit by the umpiring, and it was fueled by the racism charge.
I've always said that animosity and anger on the cricket field is caused predominantly by poor officiating, either bad laws and playing conditions or bad decision-making.
Did it carry? Yes, it did. Michael Clark's got him.
It's the laws of the game that run the game out in the middle, and two blokes used to be in charge of those laws of the game. I mean, and let's get back to the crux of the matter. You cannot solve the problem with the ICC constituted the way it is at the moment, because it's a power-broking political body. It doesn't administer in the best interests of the game of cricket.
My fear, Mark, is that Australia is trying to get some moral high ground. And the way cricket has traditionally been played, Australia's cricketers are not equipped to play it differently. When they were playing in Chappelle's time and they said, we're playing our game, the umpires are doing their job, everything was clear-cut. Now they're saying, we will uphold the spirit and trust me. And I think the words trust me are becoming a little difficult for them to carry off.
I think Gilchrist's ahead of his time. Gilchrist, and I think he's ahead of his
time.
But
he appeals when he knows the batsman's not out.
But that's fine by me, because he's doing that on part of the team. As far as I'm concerned, the issue really is that players are making it more difficult for umpires.
Is it fanciful to suggest that these two teams, led by these two captains, the two powerhouses of the world, could come together and create a better game and influence the rest of the world, Harsha?
I think culturally the two countries have moved apart a little bit as well. India's changed in the last 5 or 6 years. Young India is saying, hang on, we are not these good, simple, docile fellows who went and lost. So we are not going to stand up for anything. And the younger generation is saying, we are as good. They are far more aggressive. And you can see that within the side as well. So I think it'll be difficult to arrive at a truce.
Yes, go!